What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to the Apex Mindset podcast. We're going to continue on our credit series. And in this episode, we're going to cover how to analyze your credit report and how to properly pay your credit card. So we're excited to get into that.
Yes, sir. We're back with another one. This is episode 3 of this credit series. And just here to teach you some gems, drop some knowledge on you. And hopefully you guys could use this, apply it to your life, apply it to your business, or branch it out to anybody that needs this information.
100%. And most people, and I get the question often enough where most people really don't understand how to properly pay their credit card to maximize their credit score. We're not talking about you making your credit card payment for the sake of meeting the minimum payment due date. We're talking about how to make your credit card payment so that you can strategically maximize your credit score every single month. And as opposed to what most people do is just make the minimum payment and then they wonder why their score stays stagnant or just doesn't go up.
So how would you advise the people how to properly analyze, break down the credit report before we get into the properly paying the credit cards the correct way?
So that's key, right? And checking your credit report is something that oftentimes people don't do. So you have annualcreditreport.com, which is totally free, and you're able to go to this site and get a copy of all 3 of your credit reports. And the reason why I recommend annualcreditreport.com, one, is free, and then 2, it's the most comprehensive report that you're going to get. It's not going to give you your score, it's going to give you just your report. So if you're going there to look for your credit score, it's not going to produce that.
Okay.
It's going to give you all 3 of your reports, comprehensive, top to bottom. So once you get your report, there's a couple of things, right? You want to make sure that the information that's being reported on each credit bureau or credit reporting agency on each report is accurate 100%. So credit reports are notorious for having multiple aliases in terms of names, right?
Yeah.
So you'll have multiple names, you'll have multiple addresses, your previous addresses, multiple employers, phone numbers, so on and so forth. So it's important to clean up that personal information section and just have one of each. Your actual name that's on your driver's license, your address, your phone number, your current employer, so on and so forth. So the reason why that's important is because the more aliases, the more addresses, the more phone numbers, the more employers, the harder it is to verify your identity.
So question. So how can someone go how can you go about correcting that information?
Okay, so that's a good question. So under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA Section 609, we are entitled to having a 100% um 100% accurate credit report, right?
Okay.
So whenever we're challenging information, we put together what's called a dispute letter. And a dispute letter is simply a letter that you put together that states errors or inconsistencies or inaccuracies. So an alias, a different variation of your name is a mistake. It's an inaccuracy. So when you're compiling this dispute letter, you're going to state exactly what the error is, right? We're going to be as clear as humanly possible when it comes to disputing information with the credit reporting agencies, right? So as you address the letter, you can also provide a copy of the report and highlight the inaccuracy. So
Gotcha.
that way, when you send in a dispute letter, they see exactly what you mean, right? And you go section by section, line by line, do the same thing. Highlight the inaccuracies and write why. And then also, you're going to, with every single dispute, you have to send in a copy of your driver's license and a utility bill, again, to verify
Correct.
that who you are.
The identity.
So when they see that your driver's license has your current address that you're disputing, right, and not any of the other ones, that's grounds for dismissal. When they see your name there's not different variations of it, just that one name, those are grounds for
So for example,
dismissal.
so let's say you have a account that's been closed and is derogatory towards your credit. If let's say, for example, it doesn't say Tonio, it says a different name but the same last name, or it has a different version of what Tonio, the name Tonio is
Mhm.
instead of Tonio. Let's say it has a Y instead of a I. That will dismiss that account that is affecting your credit report.
So that's a great point, and that's a different video. But so, and that's why it's important to clean up your credit, right? To
Okay.
clean up the information section, because what is called is anchoring, right?
Gotcha.
So let's say that you open an account and different variations of your name. So like somebody might ask, okay, so why are there different variations of my name on my credit report? It's because when you go and seek employment or when you apply for credit, that creditor is reporting that information as such, and a lot of that has errors, right?
Gotcha.
So the variation of Tonio instead of the O with the Y, maybe you apply for credit, and then that was reported by Visa or Mastercard as to how you spelled it on the application. So now it's on your credit report, right?
Gotcha.
So let's say you got approved for that credit card that you apply for with Visa with TYNIO, but your real name is TONIO.
Mhm.
So now you have an approval with a name that's incorrect. So that account is now anchored to that name, to that alias, right?
Okay.
So that's why it's important, like you alluded to, when you remove that name, that removes the association with that account. So when you go to dispute it, if it is derogatory, there's a high probability of it getting removed. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how that played out the way it did with that question. But that's the reason why it's imperative to clean up your personal information section, because certain accounts that are opened up along your journey are anchored to certain aliases. And if you get rid of those aliases, then and if that account's derogatory, high probability of you getting it
So
removed.
basically, you prepare a letter, clear as day, provide two proof of identity,
Right.
and then there's one tool that you haven't mentioned that people could use now.
Right. And I was just about to segue into that, man, because we no longer need to do the heavy lifting, right? We no
Correct.
longer have to stress our brains, especially if we're not, savvy with the verbiage. We have AI, right? And ChatGPT is our friend. And, the free version is great, but the paid version is better.
Way better.
So what I encourage people is to once you can have ChatGPT AI do all the heavy lifting, all the work. So if you go on annualcreditreport.com and you download a copy of each of your credit reports, you can literally take that one credit report, upload it to ChatGPT, and then ask. So now we need to be intentional with the prompts that we give
Correct.
ChatGPT,
You have
right?
to be a little bit. You have to be more accurate as possible.
Correct. You have to be as comprehensive as you can. So clarity is important. So you're going to ask ChatGPT to analyze that credit report that you just uploaded, and you're going to ask it to then identify all of the errors that are on that credit report, right? All of the negatives, all of the derogatories. That's it. That's the first prompt.
How about giving an example of that for our viewers that need a little bit more?
Okay. So for an example, you can put, hey, you can say hello. So ChatGPT responds to you as if it was an individual,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So if you say hello, it'll say like "Good afternoon, how are you?" You know,
They
like
won't say what's up.
well, what, right, right, and it say something to that effect. So once you upload, so on the actual bar that
On the
you type in
prompt.
the
On
message,
the
right?
prompt.
There's a little picture, like a little
Correct. You
like
could
an
upload
upload,
a file.
right? So you upload the file,
Mhm.
right? Once the file is uploaded, then you start typing, "Hi, hello, how you doing?" Go through the motion. I just uploaded a copy of my Experian credit report. I am new to credit. Can you please scan this report and point out any inaccuracies that you find according to consumer law and the FCRA, right? Any inaccuracies, any inconsistencies, any derogatories. So now ChatGPT is going to scan that credit report, and it's now going to start producing exactly all of the errors, so on and so forth. So now that you have all of the errors in a, you know, broken down for you concisely, now the next prompt is I would like for you to generate a dispute letter based upon these inaccuracies that you just found, leveraging consumer law and FCRA. Please construct me a dispute letter to challenge these inaccuracies and have them removed from all, whatever, from this credit reporting agency or all three credit reporting
I'm
agencies.
smiling because I'm about to use it.
You know what I'm saying? So now ChatGPT again is going to do all the heavy lifting. It's going to go find the laws that are applicable to those errors, to those negative accounts. It's going to go scan the FCRA. It's going to highlight all that for you. It's going to put it together in a letter form. You take that and you have to, you print it,
certified mail it.
Certified mail, so that way you have proof that you sent it. But this is the important part, right? You just did all of that work. And if most accounts do not see a result, meaning like you don't get the item removed and it comes back verified, because of the lack of sending in verifiable identity. So you need to send a copy of your driver's license, your social security card, and a utility bill in your name, right?
Gotcha.
This can be, gas, electric, phone bill, something that shows that something that's associated with that driver's license address that's on your driver's license, right? Because if you don't send the proof of identity, then they can't verify that it's you that's actually challenging this information, and it'll come back as verified, and you just wasted 30 days because they have 30 days from the date of receipt of the letter of the dispute to respond, right? So to circumvent wasting 30 days, if you prepare yourself, organize yourself, know exactly which documents you need, and send that out the first round, there's a high probability of you seeing results in 30 days, 30 to 45 days. So that's why it's absolutely imperative for you to check your credit report so that you can see the mistakes, so you can see the inaccuracies, so you can become aware of what's on there. So that way, in case you do have to dispute anything, you have the ability to do so.
That's actually super interesting. The fact that you're basically not doing anything.
Nothing.
All you're doing is using AI, prompting your questions,
Right.
and all your commands,
Right.
uploading your files, and it's going to do all the work for you.
Right.
All you have to do is just take a drive to the post office
and
certify mail it.
and mail it out.
And the reason why I'm so excited about ChatGPT and its ability to do what it does is because before, when I had my first credit repair company, we used to do what's called factual disputing. So factual disputing is scanning your credit report and picking out the factual inaccuracies. So what does that mean? That means like, let's say your balance is off. It's inaccurate, right? That's a factual dispute, right? Because it's reporting a balance, and that's not really a balance. The open date. The account you opened it on your birthday is reporting November or something like that, right? So you find inaccuracies on the factual side of things that are congruent across all three. So Identity IQ is the best credit monitoring for this if you're factual disputing, because Identity IQ is the only one, at least to my knowledge as of right now, that allows you to see all three of your credit reports side by side on one page. So it's not like Credit Karma where you have to swipe between the two, Equifax and TransUnion, or Experian, where they only offer you one. You can get all three. With Experian, you pay a little bit more to get access to all three in one app. But again, you have to swipe. It's not all on one page. Identity IQ gives you a snapshot of all three across the screen. So you can literally go line by line, make sure the open dates, make sure the balances, make sure the payment history, so on and so forth. And once you find an error, because again, what's reported to one has to be the same with the other two. Right. So if you find an error on one, you highlight it, and if it's different on the other two, that's factual disputing, grounds for dismissal, grounds for removal, grounds for reversal, whatever the case is. And you highlight that, and then you print a copy of it along with the other two. So when you send in your dispute letter, you actually show them like, hey, look, on Experian it's showing this, and on Equifax and TransUnion it's showing this, and according to the SCRA, all this information has to be congruent across all three, according to the law. Please remove. And they'll remove it or update it accordingly. Right?
So that's interesting.
Right. It's a little bit more in-depth work, but it's
I was gonna piggyback on that because I, in my personal situation, I had an account that I didn't pay. I couldn't pay it for whatever reason. And every time I would check my credit report, it would show a different open date. Mm-hmm. And then I'll update to a recent date. I never opened this on this particular date.
Right. This is like already like 5 years ago, and it's showing like it was a year ago.
See that? And that's an inaccuracy, man. Mm-hmm. That's an but a lot of folks they don't understand how to look at their credit reports. They've never seen it. Again, when we talk about credit, a lot of the information is overwhelming if you're not comfortable with it or you haven't been subjected to it over a period of time. But I encourage you, it's just like anything else. When you look at that report, yes, a lot of it's going to be unknown, maybe overwhelming, but just take it section by section and just read the page, read from left to right, up and down, and get familiar. And then it'll all start to make sense. It's not difficult to understand, but as like the more you look at it and the more you do your research, the more you understand the vernacular that goes into the report, the more it become the common knowledge and you'll become comfortable with it. And credit repair can be done by anybody. The reason why you outsource that to a credit repair company is because either it's too overwhelming and you don't want to do it yourself, or you want to pay somebody to do it, which is all right. That's what we're here for. But I always encourage everybody to get hands-on with their credit, understand your report, understand your credit scores, understand the driving factors, the metrics, so that way you can move accordingly. Right.
And the more you know, it's better for you. The more knowledge you gain throughout life, it's going to be eventually better for you, especially credit, which is it's a super important subject.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs to know about credit.
1,000%.
Just like we said in the episode before this one. Like in our case, we didn't grow up with that knowledge. Right. It wasn't taught to us at a younger age. Right. So knowing credit, understanding credit is definitely super important for your well-being and your growth.
Absolutely.
As a human being or as a business owner.
Right. And credit's not going nowhere. I mean, credit's here to stay. So especially myself, I'm a product of my parents' ignorance, because my parents didn't know, so naturally they didn't teach us. So
but they know now.
Well, I'm sure they know now. Yeah, 100%. So we got to understand that if we're born into a circumstance like that, we can't hold our parents accountable to that, because what they weren't taught, they can't teach us.
Correct.
But we have the ability, especially now in the age of information, to have access to the information and to actually discern whether or not we're going to apply this stuff to make our life better or just continue to play the victim card. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So
never play the victim card.
No. Yeah, man up. Man up. And the information is out there, man. And that's what's like this day and age, man. This is the first time in history where you have people making millions of dollars offline, right? People making millions of dollars remotely, right? We're just in a whole different era because of the internet, because of AI. And it's nuts. Like even, there's social media influencers, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook making millions of dollars, YouTubers making millions of dollars. Like there's really no excuse as to why you can't make the type of money that you want. You just got to be passionate about what it is that you do. And the reason why it's important to be passionate is because when you're passionate about something, you're not going to give up when the struggle gets hard.
No.
Right? Versus something that you dislike and you don't like doing, when it gets hard, you'll give up and you'll move on to the next thing. So like, I always have this conversation with a close friend of mine where we talk about work, and he despises the job that he's doing now. But it's like, if the same energy that you use to go to a job that you dislike, you can utilize that same energy to do a job that you do like, you know?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, life is too short to, go through life doing things and giving energy and time to things that don't serve you. That is, you know what I'm saying? So I figure like we're here for a finite time and we got to be able to utilize our time wisely. I'd rather be on this planet for whatever 90, 100 years and be happy the whole time than to be miserable 50 years coming out of that 20 years later, and then finally when I'm on my way out, now I found the happiness that I've been looking for.
And you're already old.
Correct.
Old,
Right.
you don't have the youth on your side.
Right.
You don't have the strength on your side to be up and going. And I mean, hopefully you do, right?
Right.
Hopefully that's what
I mean,
everybody
hopefully you
wants.
have that vitality. No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But definitely leveraging this knowledge about credit and for a business owner is essential.
Right.
Because what's the whole purpose of owning a business? Being
free, yeah.
Having that financial freedom.
Right.
So I mean, and you don't want to work until you're 80 or 90.
Correct.
I've seen people in the theme parks, I'm not gonna name, but in the theme parks, like you see them like they're in the 70s, almost 80s, still working.
Mhm.
And I mean, you see them full of life. They're joyful. They look like they enjoy it. Maybe it's what they wanted to do. But then you see some people that you're like, they look miserable.
Right.
Miserable. Like they're there because they have to. That's their only way of living. Like
Right.
that's the only way for them to pay for their bills and all the essential stuff that they need. But it's crazy. It's
It is. It is.
I don't. That's not me. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to say, hey, I want to take a vacation today.
Right.
Just pack up and leave.
And this is why entrepreneurship is so powerful. A lot of people seek entrepreneurship to buy back time. That's
Correct.
essentially what you do, right? So with every business that you start, the more that you pour into that business, this is why when you make money in business, putting money back into the business to grow and scale it is extremely important because the more resources you put back into the business, the more it grows, the more you can hire, the more you can slowly start stepping away from the operations. Because as a business owner, you want to be able to work on your business, but you can't do that if you're working in the business. So making the investment.
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
As a business owner, right? You can't grow your business if you're working in it, right? You need to work on it, right? So you need to be able to take a step back and look at where your opportunities are, who you can network with, etc. And you can't do that if you're just bogged down working inside of the business. So all of your revenue should go back into the business so that you can hire somebody that can replace you, so that you can step back. And the further you start to step back and operations start to grow, that's where you get your freedom, right? This is what every wealthy person is after. They understand that time is a valuable commodity and that when they start a business, they are buying back their time so that they can take vacations with their family. They can, they can wake up and not only buying back time, they also understand that they also understand how money works. So when you understand money, then you understand, like once you have a comprehension of money, then you know that the real purpose of money is for it to get pregnant and have babies and work for you while you're sleeping, as opposed to you working for the money. So the majority of people they do an exchange, right? Time for money. I'm going to go to work, give you 8 hours, you're going to give me money in an exchange. And that you're limited, right? So if I work 10 hours a day, I can only make so much money, right? So whenever you exchange time for money, you're exchanging a finite resource that's limited, time, to your energy. So you're never gonna get rich trading time for money, which is why it's important to have your money work for you via investment vehicles where your money compounds over time, right? So now your money's actually working for you, making money while you sleep. right? When you got money in real estate that appreciates, when you got it in crypto, when you got it in stocks, like these are the vehicles that you utilize to become free. So that way, when you like, let's say for an example, if you write a book, right? It took you time and energy to write that book.
Correct.
But now that the book is written, that book is now an asset. It can make you money while you sleep. People can purchase that book online, on your social media, on your website, whatever, while you're sleeping. So that's a revenue generation that's happening, which you're not making any effort. You initially put out the time and effort to make it, but now that it's there, moving forward, it costs you nothing.
Correct.
Right. So this is what you do to get wealthy. This is what the wealthy do, and they understand how money works. So they put their money to work, at an early age. This is why life insurance is so powerful. And a lot of rich people and wealthy people leverage life insurance, which, in my opinion, is not talked about enough. And I'll touch upon it shortly for those of you that may be of interest. So life insurance, for the longest time, I had an understanding of life insurance of being like, I need life insurance so when I die, it can pay for my funeral, right? So my family doesn't have to come out of pocket for my funeral.
Correct.
So that's a misconception, right? That's called a death benefit. There's a difference. So life insurance is meant for you to live, to utilize while you're alive. Hence why it's called life insurance. You can use it while you're alive. And then there's a death benefit, which is the benefit that covers your funeral costs when you transition, right?
Funeral arrangements and all that.
Correct. So, all right. So now we have life insurance. So there's specific policies that you could construct via your agent that have cash value, right? So let's say I come across, let's say I won the lottery for $100,000.
Okay.
Right? I got to pay tax on that money.
Of course.
Right. So, but if I put that money in an investment vehicle like life insurance, right? It's called front loading the policy. So you take the 100,000 that you just won, you put it inside of a life insurance policy. As long as you have what's the term? It's not capital gains income derived from corporate activity that is subject to capital gains tax. As long as you have an earning like that, it's taxable. But it's not taxable when it's in an investment vehicle like life insurance, right? So you can take that money and put it into life insurance, front load the policy, and then you can borrow against that policy 90%.
Really?
So you take the 100,000, you put it in a life insurance policy. Now the life insurance policy is going to let you borrow 90%, up to 90%. So you can take out 90,000 instantaneously, tax free. And that money is going to continue to compound. This is why life insurance is so powerful, because it's a compounded vehicle, just like the brokerage account that we spoke about previously. Life insurance policies compound over time. So now you put in 100,000, and if you take out 90 immediately, you think naturally the average person is like, all right, well, it means I only have 10,000 left in there. No, that's not how it works. So when you put in that 100,000 and you took out 90, because they let you take up to 90% out immediately to borrow against it, that 100 is still there. So the compounding interest is on the 100,000 that's in there. Listen, this is stuff that the wealthy do, man. This is why, like, and there's
I'm
a
trying
book
to analyze it.
There's a book that everybody should read. What would the Rockefellers do? And this is what.
Didn't you just read
that? I read it multiple times, and I posted it because it talks about John D. Rockefeller gives his blueprint on how his family has been able to sustain this generational wealth for this amount of time, and it's through life insurance, right? It's putting millions of dollars into life insurance. So to be brief, right? So the life insurance policy is owned by a trust. This is going to get a little deep down a rabbit hole, but I'm only going to touch on it that we can go in depth on another video. So you have a trust. You create a trust. The trust is the beneficiary of your life insurance policy, right? So when you open up a life insurance policy, there's a beneficiary to that policy, right? It's not you, the individual, because if you, the individual, inherit $1 million life insurance policy, it's subject to tax, it's subject to probate. Everybody want their hands on it.
Right.
So if you have a trust is created as an anonymity tool, as a way to be clandestine, as a way to be secret, not in public eye. So when you start a business on the Secretary of State, when you put your information, that's public knowledge. That's public information. I can go on the Secretary of State on, sunbiz.org and look up any business in Florida and find out who the owner is, the address, etc.
Gotcha.
With a trust, there's a layer, there's a privacy layer. You don't have access to that information. So now the trust is created, which creates this privacy. Now the life insurance policy, you open it, and the beneficiary is the trust. So now when you pass away, let's say you have $1 million policy, that $1 million now goes into the trust. Now you are the trustee.
Okay.
Meaning you control the interests of the trust. You're not the owner. You're the trustee, which is almost one and the same. It's just a fancy way of saying trustee is a fancy way of saying owner. You control the interests of the trust. But that information is, again, not general public information. So now when you create a trust comes with laws, if you will. When you create a trust, you write in how you want that money spent, how you want the life insurance to be broken up, right? Across who's going to get it, like the beneficiaries.
Gotcha.
So you set these things in place. And what Rockefeller did was he would have, for instance, $1 million policies on every single person in his family, all the way down to grandkids. Anytime somebody was born in the lineage, they would take out a life insurance policy on them. So now somebody passes away, the $1 million goes into the trust, right? The $1 million from the life insurance policy goes into the trust. The trust now allocates to the family half of that. So they give them $500,000. While that money is sitting in the life insurance policy, remember, it compounds.
Correct.
Right? So if you take out $500,000, disseminate that against your family, and you still got $500,000 in there, that money's compounding. So as people are dying, which is inevitable, right?
Correct.
That money is just stacking in there. You take out half, leave half in there, and it's compounding. And you write that in as like a law, as a bylaw. This never changes for the life of the trust. Don't die, people do, right? So that trust is going to be there indefinitely, and that's how you create generational wealth.
So right now, this generation of the Rockefellers,
bro. This is why the Rockefellers sit at the top of the pyramid, man, with the Rothschilds, bro, because of this type of vehicle, because of this wealth. And you have who's the other gentleman, man? His name escapes me, but him and Rockefeller at in their age, they were hand in hand with wealth. And then after like 5 generations, the other gentleman's family went broke because of lack of having something in place, where the Rockefellers continued to
expand their
to
wealth.
move on, to move on and create that generational wealth. Not to mention that it's proven that if you're born into a rich family, because you were born into that environment, it's almost inevitable that you'll be successful. Like, because of the environment that you grew up in.
Good,
right?
Because you're born into that environment, so it's what you learn, it's what you know.
Correct. So you don't necessarily need to be a genius. You can be,
Could be me.
I don't want to say the word stupid, but you don't have to be smart, and you can still make money because you're surrounded around that environment where there's a lot of high level stuff going on. So you just naturally pick it up.
You're raised with that knowledge.
Correct.
From a small
And
age.
just being, so an example, right? Let's say you went to a bar. You went to a bar every Saturday And every Saturday at 8 o'clock, you went to this bar and there was the same 5 people there that were talking about ice cream, how to sell ice cream, how to make it, how to package it, etc. If you go there long enough, after 30 or 60 days, if somebody asks you how is ice cream made, you'll be able to rifle it
Yeah, because you keep hearing it.
because you keep hearing exactly because you're in that environment. Correct. Yeah. So just by you being subjected to it just makes you better. So, this is why it's important to one, there's a saying that if you didn't come from a rich family, it's your responsibility to ensure that a rich family comes from you. Right. So
wait, say that again. So that's twice today.
If you don't come from a rich family, it's your responsibility to ensure that a rich family comes from you. So once you take that upon yourself to be like, you know what, I'm going to learn as much as I can about money, about investing, about making sure that, and it goes down to culture, man, because we're so driven by social media and what other people are doing, and we're trying to impress people that don't even like us, that we're just caught up in this cycle where if we just take a step back and be like, you know what, and I use most people, I think it's like 80% of even more of people have auto loans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the average auto loan is $400 a month. That sounds reasonable.
That's too low.
Is it? Let's say 500.
Yeah.
So the average auto loan is $500 a month
without insurance.
Right. So you're paying this money out every single month, and that's going to it's not even an asset, to a depreciating liability, and you're never going to see that money back.
Nope.
But if you just took a step back and say, you know what, let me purchase a vehicle cash that can get me from A to B, and then that $500 that I'd be making a car payment with, invest that into a brokerage account every month, right? So if you pull out a compounding interest calculator, if you go on Google and type in compound interest calculator and you type in $500 contribution a month times 12, gives you a number, and then that number compounded at whatever that account's offering, 4, 5, 6%, you'll see exactly how much you'll have at the end of that year. Now, let's say you start this at 18. You're retiring at 65. So if you did this every single year, that's not even including the compounding interest over all this time. This is just, you put in 500, it gives you this number. Now, if you do this when you start 18, as you start to progress, as you start to get older, generally speaking, you start to increase your income, right? You may go from Home Depot, now you're running FedEx, or now you're in the restaurant business, now you're a manager, right? So your income as you get older, generally speaking, goes up.
Correct.
So the more it goes up, the more you put in, because now you have more income to put in. So now that number gets even bigger, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we just got to understand, like, these investment vehicles and how the wealthy, you got to study the rich, dude. Study the wealthy. They've already created the blueprint. We just have to find it and follow it. Copy and paste. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're literally copying and pasting. There's an interview out there that anybody can go see with, and this was powerful for me, with Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
When he started Amazon. So he had a net worth of $3 billion with a B. $3 billion, and he was driving like a 2019 Honda Accord, being interviewed in that car. And the reporter was like, after that, he asked him a series of questions. He was like, can I ask you something? Like, sure, go ahead. As of so-and-so date, you're worth $3 billion. Like, yep. He's like, why are you driving this Honda Accord? And Jeff Bezos was like, because I love this car. Like, it gets me from A to B. It's good on gas. Is this, is that. So it's like, this is how the wealthy people look at materialistic things. It's an Accord. It gets me from A to B. It does what it does. Versus I got $3 billion. I need a Ferrari. I need a Lambo. I need a Rolls Royce. Right? Because they're taking that money and they're investing it in investment vehicles that's making money while they're sleeping. So we got to change the mindset in order to, like, really, ramp up this wealth thing when it comes to us investing, man.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
2019 Honda Accord.
Yes, dude. It's an interview. You gotta go on Google it, bro. You'll see it. It's powerful. $3 billion in a Honda Accord. And then I also
It's pretty dope too, because if you think of it, he's probably driving around people.
don't even know who he is.
Exactly.
Right.
The man's just driving with a $3 billion worth business
and not even showing it. And that's what rich people do. Rich people do not show that they're rich. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. He wears white t-shirts and jeans every day. Right? Look at Elon Musk. You don't see him in suits, right? You got Warren Buffett. He's another one. So like, we just got to understand how to move, man. We got to understand how to move. We got to understand how to prioritize. There's an exercise that anybody can do. Every single city, every town has an affluent neighborhood, right?
has a what? I'm sorry.
Affluent neighborhood has a rich neighborhood,
Okay.
right? So if you drive through the nearest rich neighborhood near you, look in the driveways. It's very seldom that you're going to see a high-end vehicle in these driveways. You're going to see multi-million-dollar houses, mansions, waterfront properties with Hyundai Elantras, Volkswagen.
That is true.
Beetles. You're not going. The best, the most appealing car will probably be like a new Suburban or a new Escalade, because these are family vehicles, right? It's not high end, in your face, flashy type of vehicles, because they rather invest their money than to prove to other people that they have money.
Correct.
So that's a quick exercise you can go do locally to see if I'm blowing smoke up up the back end or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, the wealthy people move different, and we just gotta understand it and adopt to it.
That is definitely true. Definitely true. But it's shocking. Shocking. I'm still in that at the Honda Accord thing.
Yo, man, yeah. Yeah, bro. It's real, man. It's real. That interview's out there. And this is how they move, man. So it's important to know that. And credit is, a gateway to that, right? Having good credit, having access to good credit, having access to credit lines, increase credit limits, like all of these things is crucial, because we can leverage that to invest in these vehicles. Right. So that's why it's imperative to make sure that we have good credit. That's why it's imperative to make sure that you pay your credit card on time, so that you can maximize your credit score, so that you can maximize your credit limits. Some of these cards, the Navy Federal flagship card, their black card, their flagship, their like staple card, has an $80,000 limit on it. Like it's nuts. So the fact that you can get $80,000 off of one credit card from one bank is nuts. So like, you ask yourself, what can you do with $80,000? You know what I'm saying? And then that's just one card. So if you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards, you can see how that money starts to add up. That's just the personal side. We're not even talking about the business side, right? So again, once you learn how to maneuver in the credit system, once you know how to maneuver with money, and these things start to become clear for you, start moving differently, man.
So I definitely think we should definitely touch base on that on the next episode. Talk about I would say that we could talk about how to pay your credit cards on time, the difference between cards, which one is the most prestigious card, like how can you obtain that, just to help the people out and give them that knowledge,
right,
on how to obtain that and build them the ground up.
100%. And we can definitely do that. I know we were going to talk about that today. We got a little sidetracked. But what I'll do is I'll actually, when we talk about how to pay your credit card, I'll have a board up where we can break down an example to give people an
That's a great
idea of like what I'm talking about when I talk about your statement date, your payment date, and how much, 30%, 7%. So we'll put that up. We'll go in depth. We'll give them the sauce on how to do it. So that way, those are people that are having issues with their credit score because of their credit cards. Now you'll know. You can apply the information, get your score back.
That's a dope idea.
100%.
I think that's definitely something, because some people are more visual. So if you do, let's say you do a little pie chart and on a board,
right?
some people that are more visual,
right,
instead of listening
right,
and retaining the
right.
information, it will help them.
At home for sure. So that's yeah, man. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, it was a
You know,
it was a
if
dope
anybody
episode.
if anybody has any other questions or concerns, please drop them in the comments below.
Yep.
Let us know what you're interested in. We'll make the content to answer that question. If this content helped you in any way, please consider sharing it with somebody that may benefit from it. Consider subscribing to the channel, sharing the video, and leaving a comment. Let us know how you feel about the information. Were we on target? There's any advice that you want to chime in with? And yeah, and we'll see you guys
Yeah,
in the next
just talk to us, people.
episode.
Just let us know what you want. Let us know what information you need. Whatever we could help you out, we definitely will. If you want to do a Q&A, just let us know. We can set that up too.
We can do a live
We'll go
Q&A for
live
sure.
or Q&A, answer questions. But I definitely hope you guys enjoy this episode. This is episode 3 of the credit series. We got our sponsors today, we haven't mentioned them, so sorry about that. We got the sponsor Apex Primal for your.
We'll put their link below in the description where you guys can
Definitely.
check out their merch.
Definitely,
and
definitely.
get some
And I
apparel.
appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.